Mr. Speaker, it's my honor to introduce the Congressman from Kansas, Tracy Mann. Congressman Mann is a fifth-generation Kansan and proudly serves on the Agriculture and Veterans Affairs Committees, and he represents Kansas' 1st District.
Thank you, Congressman. Thanks for hosting this special order. Mr. Speaker, I rise to discuss winners and losers under President Biden's policies. When I was a kid playing 8-man football for the Quinter Bulldogs in rural Kansas, there wasn't much room for debate on the winners and the losers of the game. You either win or you didn't. You either scored more touchdowns, scored more two-point conversions, and got more tackles than the other team, or you didn't, plain and simple. The same is true with America today. President Biden's progressive policies make for very clear winners and very clear losers. Consider these 3 examples. Winner number 1, Communist China. Loser, America. On January 31, 2020, America received warning that the coronavirus had possibly been engineered in the Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China. In late 2020, America began investigating the link between the spread of the coronavirus and the Wuhan lab. In one of his first acts as president, Joe Biden prematurely ended the investigation into the Wuhan lab. Now, with new insurmountable evidence that the coronavirus could have been engineered in the Wuhan lab, President Biden and Speaker Nancy Pelosi refused to investigate the origins of COVID-19, even with overwhelming support for an investigation. On top of that, President Biden refuses to stop American taxpayer-funded research at that very Wuhan lab. It has been more than a year since the pandemic shut down the country. Today, nationwide coronavirus cases have dramatically decreased. America is finally getting back to normal. Businesses across the country are ready to reopen and welcome back customers. Unfortunately, President Biden's bonus, the new monthly unemployment checks being distributed on top of the already existing unemployment checks, is paying a premium for workers to remain at home rather than finding work. The data doesn't lie. There are nearly 8 million job openings in America right now, a new record. I've heard from countless small business owners in the Big First who cite the Biden bonus as the reason why they cannot find workers and completely reopen. While Communist China covers up COVID-19, President Biden is denying science, keeping people unemployed, and hurting America's prosperity. Under President Biden's policies, America losers. Winner 2, the Mexican cartels. Loser, America. President Biden created a full-scale crisis at our southern border. He promised outright citizenship to more than 11 million illegal immigrants, placed a moratorium on deportations, and halted border wall construction. These lax policies lure drug cartels who in turn make hundreds of millions of dollars exploiting children. The cartels will even throw migrant children in the Rio Grande as a distraction to avoid being apprehended. The daily average of unaccompanied minors crossing the southern border has skyrocketed since President Biden took office. These policies also create chaos for Americans living near the border. American farmers and ranchers on the border are forced to check their livestock in the daylight as it is too dangerous for them to leave their homes at night. American families are keeping their kids indoors at all hours of the day. American law enforcement officers and Border Patrol are overworked and shorthanded. Meanwhile, President Biden and Vice President Harris have yet to visit the border and refuse to secure our country and enforce immigration laws. Under President Biden's policies, America loses. Winner 3, socialism. Loser, America. Just a few weeks ago, later than any president in a transition year, President Biden released his $6 trillion budget. The budget is the most egregious, most short-sighted, and costliest budget in America has ever seen. President Biden's budget is a progressive wish list in disguise. He wants us funding the Green New Deal, spending $174 billion on subsidies to the electric car market and $40 billion to retain employees who lost their jobs after he blocked the Keystone Pipeline, all in an attempt to replace the oil and gas industry. He wants $63.5 billion for international spending, but none for America's longtime ally, Israel, clearly bowing to Democrats on their record of anti-Semitic language and slurs. And he refuses to protect our dollars from being spent on abortions, removing a pro-life protection that 77% of Americans support, and a protection even Biden supported for years before his presidential campaign. While socialists are pleased with Biden's latest spending spree, the economic disaster to follow will cripple American families' purchasing power and leave future generations with the crushing burden of the national debt. Under President Biden's policies, America loses. Sadly, the greatest loser of all of this is our freedom. The freedom to open our businesses and make a living when we choose, the freedom to own land without the fear of a land grab, the freedom of law empowering Americans to own and use firearms, and the freedom to live out our faith without being persecuted by the government, the freedom to speak freely on college campuses, and the freedom to win. Our founding fathers ensured that these freedoms do not flow from a king, another country, or government, and they never will. Under freedom, America always wins. I yield back.